insights into the connection between the disarmament and the environment sustainability. Glosia Boyer serves as the UNDP Global Advisor on reintegration, leading the work on transitions from military to civil life, traditionally known as disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, and more recently, prosecution, rehabilitation, and reintegration, and their linkages to the UNDP stabilization, recovery, and peace building programming. So please join me in welcoming Glosia Boyer.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this side event of the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, organized by UNGO, Working Group on Climate, Peace and Security. Today, we gather under the theme of climate action for peace, disarmament in the environmental rights agenda, a topic that resonates deeply with our shared commitment to a sustainable and peaceful future. As a global advisor for the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and serving as co-chair of the United Nations Interagency Working Group on Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration, the IAWG-DDR, I am honored to address this distinguished gathering, particularly our youth organizations who play a fundamental role in shaping our future. The IWG-DDR shapes international standards. Through the Integrated Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration Standards, IDDRS, within these standards, we have dedicated modules on DDR and youth, as well as on DDR and natural resources. These modules underscore our commitment to integrating environmental considerations into disarmament processes, ensuring that peacebuilding efforts are sustainable and inclusive. Today's discussion is timely. Disarmament is not merely about reducing weapons, nor reducing the human cost of weapons, as called for in the new Agenda for Peace. It's about creating conditions conducive to lasting peace and sustainable development. Environmental degradation caused by wars, high military emissions due to increases in military expenditures not only exacerbate conflict and insecurity, but also threaten ecosystems and the success of climate action. Conversely, promoting disarmament leads to environmental sustainability and also to conflict prevention and peace building, aligning with Sustainable Development Goal 16 and the broader new Agenda for Peace. Today's discussions are crucial as we explore innovative pathways to integrate disarmament into the environmental rights agenda. Youth organizations are at the forefront of this movement, advocating passionately for climate action and environmental justice. Your energy, creativity, and commitment are indispensable in driving meaningful change towards a future where peace and sustainability go hand in hand. As we delve into our event, I encourage you to share your perspectives, experiences, and ideas. Let us leverage this platform to foster collaboration and co-create solutions that advance our collective goals towards climate security. In closing, let us be reminded that together we have a shared responsibility to build a world where disarmament, environmental protection, and peace building converge for the well-being of all, and that helps pave the way for more successful outcomes in the upcoming Summit of the Future and our endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Glosia, for all of this efforts and your enlightening insight. I'm really grateful for that. We now move on to our panel discussion. And the panel discussion is all about the strategies to promote disarmament in the climate change. And for that, I recently come across with one of the quote, which is very suited on this topic and theme, that is, as rightly said by John Dewey, that a problem well put up is half solved. So for that reason, we can put up the problem and we can discuss on this panel discussion so that it will be come into half solved, and the rest we will have to discuss to how to solve it. So for this panel discussion, we have gathered distinguished experts who will share their perspectives on how disarmament can be integrated into climate action strategies. Our panelists today are Yusuf Idris, a renowned climate change expert and environmentalist, serving as a special assistant on climate change to the executive governor of Kaduna State, the founder of Green Climate Africa, and leading the initiatives like the 10 million tree planting campaign and promoting the climate resilience in Africa. Yusuf, if you are here, yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm just having a little technical issues, but I think I'll fix it before the panel starts properly. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so moving ahead, we now have Livia Liansari, the undergraduate in international relations at Universitas Indonesia, member of a climate peace and security working group at Yongo. She focuses on youth engagement in environmental protection and SDGs, coordinating events at the Sakura Science Club and contributing to the international cooperation efforts.
Thank you very much, Sakshi, for the introduction. First of all, can I please ask whether I'm audible or not?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Livia Lianasari from Indonesia. It is an honor for me to be here. And first of all, I would like to thank Yango Climate Peace and Security Working Group for this opportunity. I will be discussing with all of you regarding disarmament, which a lot of younger people, including me, and also my peers see as a very high political agenda, which seemingly quite out of our reach. So I really appreciate this platform to voice out my perspective. And I actually prepared a presentation material for this, so I will start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible in the Zoom meeting?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will just start on with my presentation since I don't really have much time. So for a brief introduction, I'm also a member here at the Climate Peace and Security Working Group. I'm part of the participant for the UNITA Leaders for Free and Open Indo-Pacific. I'm involved in various organizations, both in Indonesia and also in other at the regional level, where I get to express my passion for humanitarian and environmental issues through project management as well as partnership building. Here, I divided my presentation into 4 specific topics, and I would like to share, starting off with my perspective of how urgent this issue is in correlation with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and some reflections regarding the current situation, challenges, and also our way forward that includes my aspirations on especially what the younger generations can do regarding promoting disarmament into the environmental rights agenda. Okay, so when we're talking about the critical intersection about disarmament, environmental protection, as well as peace building, I believe that our climate and environment can only thrive in a lasting and sustainable peace. It cannot flourish in a state of fluctuation, especially the ones that are man-made. When we're talking about human civilization, wars and conflicts have always existed ever since, there's the World War I, where it witnessed the first large-scale use of toxic chemical weapons in land warfare. Then there's also the World War II, that's even bigger. Continuing to that, the world witnesses decades of Cold War, where there's arms races, and some of those weapons, that are very disruptive to our environment are used in several proxy wars. So continuing that, even in the Cold War period, ongoing conflicts are still existing in this world. And this led to me reflecting upon the situation that in this so-called modern era is our mind, the human mind, are we still stuck in the past? And when we're talking about sustainable peace here, within the Article 26 of the Charter of the United Nations, it is mentioned that disarmament holds an essential position as a precondition for achieving it. And because when we divert less resources spent on arms and we focus it on addressing global challenges and promoting sustainable development, that's when we can achieve the sustainable peace that we want. And in relation to the SDGs, disarmament at its core is promoted within goal number 16 regarding peace, justice, and strong institution, which also promotes regarding the prohibition and restriction of the use of several weapons, establishing effective controls of it, and many, many more. Continuing to that, I would like to emphasize again about the urgency. I want us to reflect. What does the 2030 climate deadline truly mean? Why that year to be exact? It is because, according to the scientists, the climate change impact after that year will be too much for us to handle. And the IPCC has stated that to avoid climate catastrophe, global emissions must be halved by 2030 and we must achieve net zero by 2050. We're 2024 right now, and we're only 6 years away. The SDGs are in parallel. Based on the newest Sustainable Development Report that I access, it is estimated about 16% of the SDG targets are on track to be achieved, while the remaining either show limited progress or even a reversal of progress. And in particular, about SDG 16 is particularly off track. The progress of SDG itself was already too slow even before the COVID-19 pandemic and other crises hit, but the continuation of the usage and production of armaments here are really intensifying the hindering of the progress. Now, regarding the impact of armaments to the global greenhouse gas emissions as well as for the carbon footprint, there's an estimation in 2022 that the total military carbon footprint is approximately 5.5% of global emissions. The scientists involved within this research say that the lower end of these ranges, it is not truly credible because given the focus of energy-intensive military technology. So their best estimate is 5.5%. And to be mindful, this estimation is based on limited data and does not include the impacts of warfighting, as well as the large and complex supply chain of the military. One of the main reasons for the lack of information or open data about the climate militarism connection here is that nations are quite reluctant to share, and this is part of the challenge in achieving this armament as well, about transparency and confidence building measure. Furthermore, I'd like to raise some concerning points in achieving disarmament based from the UN press. While the world is facing the highest number of violent conflicts since the Second World War, and 2 billion people live in places affected by such conflict, in this current time, many countries have resorted to the idea that security can be found only through the strength of arms and not through dialogue and cooperation. And this perspective is deeply dangerous. How do we promote disarmament to build a safer world and protect both human and environment when countries think it is necessary to arm themselves in order to maintain their safety? This question contains a paradoxical situation, right? And how do we figure this out? So we need to establish a clear vision for sustainable security. We need to understand that the removal of arms does not equal to insecurity and defenselessness. Rather, it offers policymakers with strategic set of tools to measure for reduction and limitation through binding or non-binding arms control agreement and other efforts. But I do understand that this is very complex to achieve. It is not easy to stop military production. The ongoing conflicts, it intensifies the already existing insecurity between nations, and which perpetuate arm races. Moreover, the international system is becoming more multipolar. There's a growing multiplicity of interests, conflicts, and asymmetries, which really challenge the decision-making and consensus-building processes. But and furthermore, there's also eroding respect for international norms and institutions. Some of the countries have resorted to the use of force unilaterally, both when it served their interests, and not to mention the probability of how conflicts could be profitable for the very few. Where powers are being misplaced. The military-industrial complex, for example, there's this term where a lot of people say that it promotes and sustains the production of military equipment and technology, arms sales and exports, all of these, it is highly economical, which potentially perpetuating continuation of conflicts or militarization. This complex situation perpetuates deep concern, and I start to think, what can we do? Especially for the youth, the future generation. Now I will move on to our way forward. With the rise of digital era about internet and also artificial intelligence or AI, I believe we are witnessing a new generation, an era that is supposedly no longer defined by ideological contradiction nor competition to dominate each other as before. Instead, this is the momentum where we become more unified because the world is becoming increasingly interconnected and interdependent. So how do we promote disarmament in environmental rights agenda? I believe there is root to durable peace, which is the root of sustainable development. And when we're talking about achieving SDGs added essence, we cannot do it alone, especially in terms of peace and security. Inclusivity is very important. That's why we must be proactive. We must include ourselves in discussions, consultations, and dialogue. If not, then we can also create one. Take the initiatives to foster new dialogue and make efforts in capacity building, for example, creating training or mentorship program. And I do believe that disarmament initiatives should involve effective partnership, and it should be in a multi-stakeholder approach where it includes the better engagement and integration between governments, the expert community, civil society, as well as other sectors. And adding to that, I do believe that disarmament approaches in the international level must start from the country level. This I will link to the second point about advocacy and awareness. I think as youth, we have immediate role play as change makers, and where we can promote attitudinal change towards the idea of disarmament itself. We cannot really see this as an issue that is out of our reach and we just leave it to the adults because of how high level it is in the political agenda. I must emphasize how I do think that civil society is the supervisor of the government. The SDGs itself, it is widely accepted by all 193 member states of the United Nations. So it is essentially a promise that is made from our government, and we must hold them accountable. And in order to hold them accountable, we must have knowledge, right? And although we are national citizens to our very own country, I must emphasize that at the very core, we are actually world citizens. So what we're doing on the domestic level may have influence, accumulative effects later on at the global level. That's why investing in what we put our attention to is really important. We give power to what we put attention to. So awareness is very, very crucial. Promoting regarding the topic of disarmament is very important. That could further mobilize collective participation, including among the younger generations, to start acting and speaking up regarding disarmament, which eventually will lead to pressuring the government to make policies that are aligned with our needs, aligned with the principle of peace. For example, maybe just in the near future, I imagine there's an expansion of the nuclear weapon-free zone. Many regions and more states could be part of it. I'm from Indonesia, part of Asian, right? And we have the Treaty of Southeast Asia Nuclear Weapon Free Zone in 1995 as a commitment to preserve our region from nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction. And currently, there are only 5 of these zones. And the nuclear weapon-free zone, essentially, it is something that is basis of freely agreed arrangement by the states of the region. So for those of us who are coming from countries where it has not yet been committed, well, this issue must be raised. We must also work together regarding the development of science and technology to make sure that the use of it will be for the goodness of the humankind. For our generation to become future leaders, I believe we must embrace a new global paradigm in which we envision a world without conflict and rooted in the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, and humanitarian principles, focusing on combating poverty, fostering mutual support, and achieving sustainable peace. The advancements in science and technology, I see it really puts forward innovative outlook in life. For instance, developing renewable energy technologies, which is quite crucial because some conflicts in some areas, it is because of the scarcity of energy, right? So if we can utilize the natural resources, the renewable sources, for example, solar, wind, hydropower, that could also help in the reduction of conflict in the long term, in the near future, and to achieve the state where our Earth will come to the energy abundance era. Before I close off my presentation, I would like to reiterate a statement that stuck in my head. It is from Rosalie Bartel, and she said, "We must set up a cooperative relationship with the earth, not one of dominance, for it is ultimately the gifts of life that we pass on to our children and the generations to follow." And then again, I would like to emphasize that although the situations out there might not look that good, it might seemingly bad, but I hope with the spirit of creativity, innovation, with hope we can utilize the crisis, we can shift it into opportunity. It can produce stronger generations, and I hope we can build resiliency out of it and ultimately achieve sustainable peace. Thank you very much for listening. I will stop my share screen. I'll give back to Sakshi.
Thank you so much, Livia. That's really a wonderful presentation and very incredible insights on the same. Now I'd like to have Abhilash Sachdeva, co-founder of Navdan by Handi Rasoi, dedicated to empowering communities and reviving traditional millet cultivation in Uttarakhand, India. His work bridges sustainable agriculture with environmental policy, emphasizing SDG 12, which is the responsible consumption and production. Abhilash? Okay, moving further, for now, the next one is the Juan Sebastian Huerta. Sebastian is an advocate for nuclear disarmament and environmental protection with a focus on the impact of nuclear waste disposal on marine ecosystem and human communities. With the extensive experience in environmental science and international policy, Sebastian has been actively involved in various global initiatives aimed at promoting effective disarmament and environmental restoration. As a prominent member of the international campaign to abolish the nuclear weapons, ICAN, Sebastian has contributed to numerous projects that leverage the advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, satellite mapping to address the radioactive waste disposal. Through their work, he strives to inspire international cooperation and drive concrete actions towards a sustainable and peaceful world. Now I'd like to hand over to the Sebastian.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Regards from Colombia. Right now, I'm here in Colombia, in Bogota. So let me share the screen to you guys. Give me 1 second. So I want to start talking about the nuclear waste disposal on the ocean and the perspective of disarming and environmental restoration. Okay, this is like a one investigation that I start to doing by myself. Everything is doing by myself, but I started using a mix AI, artificial intelligence, and satellites that is from NASA. Okay, so the first part we want to talking about the introduction and the historical context. And this possible practice from the 1946 to 1993, sorry, by 13 countries. So this is the nuclear waste and it's possible in the ocean right now. And the impact of the environmental and the health impacts. The tree is the tree of the provision of the nuclear weapons, and the explanation is the Article 6 and the Article number 7. More later, I want to explain you more about this. The obligation to the environmental remediation, the mutual assistance. This is very important because just United States, Japan, Germany have very like a obligation for mutual assistance, and we need to find like the financial resources to start the restoration in the ocean. Okay. Another important thing is the using of the drones to support the capturing the high resolution images of the high water habitats, because right now it's so heavy to find the specific points on the specific location there is right now the ocean dumping in the ocean, the nuclear dumping. Okay, using the nanotechnology to clean the pollution, coastal and water sustainability. It's so important to use this kind of technology to start to doing something, okay? The importance of the tree is the provision of the environmental protection. I'm implementing solar projects to ocean sensor. More later, I want to show you my investigation using the Google Earth. I want to show you what I find, okay? The article is very important, the tree of provision, the nuclear weapon, the number 6, is the requires states participating to promote victim assistance. It's very important, for example, in the Pacific Ocean, is the most like a heavy, like right now with the nuclear dumping, okay? And of course, the North Atlantic. Under Article number 7, they require all the states participate in obligation of the provide assist is very important, and the international comparison. For example, the United States, Japan, Germany, Italy, UK. This is the initiative with ICANN start to making this from 2017. They win the Nobel Peace Prize for promote this in right now, I think 18 countries. And we promote the tree in the provision of the nuclear weapons. And of course, facilitating the disarmament and the environmental restoration. And I want to show you in this part, the using of course, the artificial intelligence. So let me share again my screen. Give me 1 second. Please. Here we go. Sure. Okay. So this is I make it with using AI with ChatGPT. So with ChatGPT, I start to make it the prompts to say like, where is the most specific places for the nuclear waste in the North Atlantic Ocean. And I start to find this. This is start to making from for the 1961. And of course, you can see the impact in the North Atlantic part. Of course, United States and Europe. So that is the point, to start to using AI and of course the satellites. You can see this information from NASA. I use 2 satellites from NASA. One is from NOAA, another one is from NASA, and you can see, of course, the effect of the nuclear waste in the ocean. You can see this part. And of another thing, then I start to find it. For example, in my context in South America, Brazil, Argentina have a lot of like nuclear wasting, but you can find nuclear waste in the Antarctica too. There is right now started doing this kind of projects, okay? So in my conclusion, to come back to the presentation, using this kind of things with the AI is the best solution to make the restoration. Using, of course, AI and satellites to start to promote financial resources and, of course, the political party that is important to promote this. And the conclusion and the call to action. It's important to ratify the treaty in all the countries because we have the ratificate the treaty in all the countries. We have like the financial resources. Linking disarmament and with environmental protection because it's very important. It's like this kind of connection is so deep. And of course, we need to promote the international cooperation. Not just is the case for United States, it's for everybody, it's for all the country, it's for all the world. And of course, invite to join to disarmament and the restoration initiative. Like for example, Daniel started doing in my investigation, but we need to promote these kind of things in the governments. I want to share this history here in Colombia with the Minister of Ambience. We started making like the restoration of the coral reefs and they promote this growth 1 million of coral reefs in this year. So it's this kind of like a joint, this kind of like a restoration initiative. And that's it, guys. It's like a small this presentation, but I want to show you more with the Google Earth, okay? And that's it.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. We really liked your presentation because there are certain aspects that needs to be considered. The role of space in the maritime ecosystem restoration and the other aspects that you have already discussed in the through your presentation. We would now like to call Yusuf Idris Amok, a renowned climate change expert and environmentalist serving as Special Assistant on Climate Change to the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, founder of Green Climate Africa, leading initiatives like the 10 million tree planting campaign and promoting climate resilience in Africa. The floor is yours, Yusuf.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here with you. And I wish to also appreciate the previous speakers for trying to do justice to the topic. It's actually a shame to us all as global citizens that we can actually not coordinate ourselves or conduct ourselves in a manner that humans are supposed to conduct themselves. And this has cost billions of dollars and loss of lives. And it has actually caused a lot of unimaginable hardship to people, most especially those that do not actually understand the global politics. What is happening about disarmament, insecurity, and the environment all plays around global politics. And the leaders that are supposed to take positive actions to to protect the environment for future are actually playing politics, not only amongst themselves, but also with our lives. Now, when we talk about disarmament, we're looking on how do we stop the proliferation of mass, weapons of mass destruction. We're looking at how do we stop the production of such weapons, and how do those weapons not get to non-actors, hands of non-actors. But all of this can be achieved only when we focus on building peace. Because once there is peace, there is no need to accumulate weapons of mass destruction and to start attacking one another. You see, the issue of sustainable disarmament, it's all around peace building. And we cannot achieve this peace building when so a part of the globe is actually oppressed, when a part of a people feel disenfranchised, and when the resources of a people is being utilized to build other parts of the world against where these resources are actually getting from. from. When there is hunger in the land, the sense of reasoning is eroded. And I'll be speaking from this perspective of Africa. And that is, I think, a very good yardstick to work with, most especially the Global South. We have actually been a victim of circumstances. We are a people with enormous resources, that's talking about natural resources, but we are now the victim of the global arms deal and global insecurity, most especially when you are looking at the Sahel region. I mean, the Sahel region of Africa, where the population is most, where poverty is most, where insecurity is most, and all of the negative indices you can all think about are found around the Sahel region of Africa. And once a poverty is so high, people no longer think about protecting the environment because people are looking for what to eat, how to survive. And the resources become so insignificant that they become a competition for scarce resources. And by so doing, you see now people taking arms against themselves in order to see that they survive. So it's now becoming a survival of the fittest. But I would like to take this from the global perspective, then take it down to local here in Africa and Nigeria in particular. I'll try to be very specific about this. Now, on the global stage, if we want peace to reign, there must be justice, there must be fairness, and there must be equity. We must treat one another as humans first. If you take the case study of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the environment where these bombs were dropped up till now are feeling the impact of the
Yusuf, there's a network glitch. Yes.
activities around that area, which has affected the ecosystem and the biodiversity of that area. We tend to forget to understand that and its environment, that's the ecosystem. And hello?
Yeah, now we can hear
you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can now hear you.
Okay, so if you look at the situation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you see that up to present, this is more than 50 years ago that happened, but up to present, it's been felt. So there is little consideration for environmental protection from the global political leaders. And that brings me to the idea of how do these leaders emerge when they do not actually think about the future of their people, the future of the globe. Like we all say, there is no planet B. The only planet we have is Earth. And if we do not take the issue of disarmament very seriously, it will harm us altogether. Now, the global North is being very unfair to the global South. And this unfairness happens from different fronts. If you like, you look at it from the spectrum of economic strength. If you like, you look at it from the spectrum of social well-being. And once people are deprived of their fundamental human rights, they will certainly fight back. And I always give this adage that a goat does not bite, but when a goat is pushed to the wall, it has no option but to bite. And the world has never gotten so close to nuclear havoc like we are faced today. If you look at the war from Russia, Ukraine, and you look at what is happening in the Middle East around Israel, Palestine, and if you look at the role Iran is playing, it's actually bringing us closer to a devastation that we cannot go back from. Scientists, according to the IPCC, has made it very clearly that we are almost at the brink of irreversible global impact. Every year, the globe emits about 40 gigaton of carbon dioxide. And if we continue this way, we will reach the point of, the tipping point of irreversible, that no matter what action we take, we will not be able to reverse the climate impact. So it is on this basis that the global political leaders must take caution. And for them to take caution, we, the younger generation, the young people, must point it out to them emphatically that the need for you to think for the future, to think of us and our survival is very important. Up and doing advocacy must be very, very loud amongst local communities, because all of these leaders that we see today, they emerge from local activities. So now, when we look at the role that we can play as young people, first of all, we must make these leaders understand firepower, because we've seen this. We've seen what is happening between Ukraine and Russia. Russia has a bigger firepower, but up to date, it's not has not won the war. We have seen what has happened in Israel recently with all of the what's it called, the Iron Domes and the defense system. It's still being penetrated. So the non-kinetic approach is the best approach that we can win hearts of people with, and we can build the peace that we actually need. And this is where education system needs to be upgraded such a way that peace building becomes a part and parcel of our education system on a global stage. And when leaders are engaged, let them be engaged. Our lives matter. The lives of the young people matter. And for us to build a planet that will all be proud of, there must be a need that peace should be a very important niche in their heart while they are discussing global issues. So I think I'll need to stop here. But before that, let me give you a perspective quickly of Africa and Nigeria in particular. The Sahel region, where Nigeria falls into, we have this lake called Lake Chad. And this lake has dried up more than 90% of itself. And this area is where the Boko Haram has been breeding. And the conflict there has been exacerbated by poverty. And the environment, the biodiversity, and the ecosystem of that area has been devastated. And studies have shown that for us to regain the ecosystem of that area is going to take more than 50 years. So what I'm just trying to point out is that all parts of the globe is a victim of these armed conflicts. And there is need for us to come together, talk together, and see how we can work this together to have a peaceful world. So I think I'll stop here. And going forward, if there is any more light that I need to throw on, and any question that I need to attend to, then we'll do that together. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for your insightful discussion and for providing us the insights on several critical questions. Yes, we have the question and we will take the question in last. Now what I am able to see is that Bilal Ahmed is having a question. Bilal, if you are in the room, then I would kindly request you to turn your video on and your microphone, and you can ask the questions. The floor is yours. Okay. Is there any other questions that you would like to ask to the panelists? Okay. So with that note, I'm moving ahead and with the transitioning to the workshop on regionalization, which is also a very critical thing that we really have to discuss on. We are going to have the discussion on how to localize and implement the strategies that on we have just heard about, and the topic that we are currently discussing on. So the very basic question to be asked to each one of the panel member, that how can we effectively regionalize and localize the disarmament strategies to address both environmental as well as the peace related objectives? Yes. And then we would like to also take this question into a very engaging format so that everyone will understand and give their own feedback on how this localization of the steps and the strategies to be developed and work on these kind of objectives. So starting with the panel members, Livia, if you could give the insight on the same question, how can we localize and they regionalize the major strategies, disarmament strategies in this subject?
Okay, so as I emphasized during my presentation, I think I do have the point of view of bottom-up approach. So it's more of how the civil society initiate this disarmament through capacity building efforts, as well as through building awareness and advocacy. From my point of view, I'm quite privileged. I'm from a country that really focuses on how to be friend with many nations, and we do not really generate conflicts with others. And regarding this, I do emphasize again, as the other panelists also mentioned, about education, because civil society, we supervise our government, right? And obviously the use of weapons, the use of armaments that disrupt our environment, uh, that could not only make our life endangered, but also the environment itself. And by having that knowledge, by having that collective participation, we can pressure our government, we can voice our opinion that if certain policies are neglecting our rights, the need of the environment, then they need to stop. I think I see it more in that approach, and I'm looking forward what the other panelists have in mind.
That's an interesting insight. And the bottom-up approach is quite relevant, and we should really think over it again and again, that how this can be taken into the on ground, and we can work on it. And moving ahead with Sebastian with the same question, and I'm repeating the question again, that how can we effectively regionalize and localize the disarmament strategies to address this both environmental and the peace related objectives?
Okay, for my opinion, I think like we need to create like a friends. If you create friends, you create partnership, you create everything, you create like a linking with the people is the first step, and friends with the planet, because we create we thinking like we are just like a human beings and we are not connected with the planet, we can do nothing. So it's the first step. We deep connected with the planet and with the human beings. And then we start to making like a disarming and everything and making like a effort for peace. But in my opinion, the first thing is like a connect with us, make like a partners, make friends. I hear like a, for example, in the last interview with the one Ibakusha, the last survivor of the atomic bomb from Hiroshima, she mentioned like we need to create friends everywhere, in every country, because you create like this kind of like a friends, you can promote everything. So this is my conclusion.
That's really amazing, and we really have to work on this aspect as well, because most of the countries, most of the democratic countries are focusing on the friendship policy rather than the other objectives, and they are now coming together that how we can maintain the friendship and how we can promote peace and stability with the same note by creating the bilateral or trilateral engagements with the promoting the friendship relations with each other, so that everyone will come together and unitely work on the same agenda and vision, that is peace. And with that note, moving ahead, I'd like to give the call to the Yusuf Amok, that please give your insights with the same question. And I'm repeating the question again, that how will how can we effectively regionalize and localize the disarmament strategies to address both environmental and peaceful related objectives?
Okay, yeah, I think my idea is not far from those of the previous panelists. You see, everything that happens on the global stage starts from the local stage. So at our local level, there will be need for society organizations with the local governments and people in the communities. Let them understand the impacts of conflicts, and let them also understand the impact of environmental destruction to us. When we understand all of this, it becomes a bit easier for us to pressure the government or people that we are voting into power to understand that this is what the people at the community level want. Because everything you see your presidents doing is a collection and a conglomeration of your inputs, of your ideas, of your participation. So if your president, my president, his president, her president, and the global president acts based on the needs and wants of their local people, it becomes easier, because nobody wants war. Nobody wants the environment to be disrupted or destroyed. So if we marry the environment at the local level, it becomes easier for us to pressure our government at the national level, and they will actually represent us at the global level. Thank you.
It's a really great point that you have just come up with. And the perspective of yours is quite relevant as well, because when we say that the leadership quality prevails, as you have rightly said, that the global presidents, if they decide that we can come together and protect the environment, then nobody can break, or nobody can stop us to do that. Individual relations, as you have also pointed out, that individual capacity as well as the global capacity should be also considered of, and which we all are working together to work on it. And our Yongo is also working on the same with the same note and vision and objective that this can be done. And moving ahead with Glossia, that really sorry that you are opening up your hand, and now it's your turn. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I wish to stay and listen to the contributions of the panel. And I have a contribution to make on the question that you just made about regionalization, linking to the localization as well. From my experience in UNDP, a great opportunity is now found in the Lake Chad Basin region. We have been supporting the Lake Chad Basin Commission to implement the whole stabilization, recovery, and resilience of the region. And these regional efforts are outlined in a strategy, and they go down to governors levels of all the countries concerned. Here is Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Chad. And this is to face the challenge posed by Boko Haram. So this is the Lake Chad Basin Commission that originally is focused around the environment, about the natural resources in the region, and they have had to focus on conflict over the past years. And significant successes have been achieved with the stabilization, which paves the way now to look at really disarmament and climate change. So this seems to be the right moment to support those efforts, to engage. There is also a CSO platform in the Lake Chad Basin Commission that could link up to these efforts, and real opportunities to implement very concrete programs and go into the disarmament aspects also of this link to climate security. So just wanted to signal that so we can have a very concrete action point where I think youth also and youth groups can take a particular role together with the governors, because there is a governors forum that's articulated also around that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gloria. This is really an insightful point that you have also mentioned. And with that note, we are coming ahead to that, moving forward to the declaration of commitments. And the participating organizations and the governments are invited to share their commitments to integrating the disarmament into the climate action strategies. I would like the participant to please raise your hand if you'd like to make a commitment, or if you'd like to make a comment, or any of the suggestions that you'd like to put forward into the table. Rama, would you like to say something on this regard? Okay. Hello. Okay. Moving ahead, just one thing that I want to address on this part, that with the commitments that we are currently doing the talk on the regionalization of the strategies and how we can implement on this part. And we are also discussing on the certain aspects that how we can mobilize the resources to combat this challenge and to work on this. So in this regard, what kind of any of the panelists I really want to ask on that, how we can mobilize the resources to combat this challenge and to maintain these strategies to be implemented on. If any of the panel member would like to take my question.
Yeah, please, can you begin with your question?
My question is,
The question was,
my bad, I didn't hear you.
sorry, I didn't get that.
I didn't hear you.
Okay, the question again, sorry.
Oh, okay. So basically, I want to ask that how we can mobilize the resources to combat this problem or the issue. Like we are currently discussing on how we can solve the problem, but the main question is that how we can mobilize resource is one of the aspect that we can work on, so that with the strategy that we develop to move on, and we can work on it together.
Okay. When you talk about resources, you know, it's not just all about money. Yeah, resources, the human capital itself, the social capital, they are all resources that can be leveraged to, you know, build on the existing peace, or to see how we can disarm, you know, conflicting youth or individual, as the case may be. Yeah, in the case of Nigeria, I think one of our major resources that we've been using is religious leaders, community leaders, traditional leaders. Yeah, they are so influential in communities that people actually listen to. So we leverage that, and we actually get them to talk to these, most especially young people, because young people are the tools that are used, to ferment trouble and conflicts and the rest of that. So one of our major resources we use here are the religious and traditional and community leaders. They understand the intricacies of the communities. They understand the demography. They understand the diversity in the community. So they know who to talk to, what approach to take at when. So we use that as a resources. That's talking about government now. Then the need for global support is also there, just like UNDP just spoke about the Lake Chad region. They've been doing a lot of things there, and what they've been doing has been impactful. In the case of Nigeria, you see that there are a lot of conflicts here and there, popping up. And I said initially that most of these conflicts are related to poverty, the lack of basic amenities for survival. So you see that the resources is scarce. If you look at the Lake Chad region that she's talking about, that is Boko Haram hub. And one of the things that was discovered to have exacerbated the Boko Haram is the availability of young people, that the shrinking of Boko Haram has taken out of job. Their sources of livelihood no longer exist. So they were literally idle. Use them as it is that for resources. We have these people, and there's room for both national philanthropists, international organizations to actually come together by, first of all, identifying where are these conflicts and who are responsible for that and who are to talk to, that could give reliable data that can be used to actually disarm, or at the end of the day, build peace around that area. And like I said earlier, non-kinetic approach has been the best approach to disarmament. And what I mean by non-kinetic approach is the human sensibility, providing resilience, sources of livelihood to people, and educating them, creating avenue for advocacy, awareness creation. So all of these are non-kinetic approach that we can use in building peace, and these resources are very available around us. It's just about tapping into them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for your answer, because we really need to address this, and your pointers are quite right, and we should move ahead with the same note. And with that, I'd like to thank you for all of your comments and commitments to be over here. And as we conclude, let's outline our next steps, and we will continue our advocacy and action based on today's discussions and commitments. We will also plan our follow-up events and meetings to review our progress and adjust our strategies as needed. And thank you for all our participants who dedicatedly are listening to us and have their participation and dedication on to this critical cause, because together we can advance both environmental and peaceful related objectives. And with that note, I would like to say have a wonderful day and a goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys.